Now you're in kind of Grant Thornton is in kind of a unique position. You have the big four, and then there's a big revenue drop off where you have you guys, and then you have the lower tier firms. You had talked about there's some talk about M&A, whether it's reason to be celebratory or not. That's still to be determined. Is that going to be a figure in your 2010 strategy? Looking.
I was really referring to client M&A, and I think we certainly have a lot of services that are geared towards client M&A, and that's important. As for our strategy, I think it is important. You might want to touch on that.
No, I think that if you look across the landscape, Bill, it's not unreasonable to expect further potential consolidation, and certainly we would seek to play an active role in that if it aligned with our strategy and our culture. And I think that we would seek opportunities to the extent that that was the case. I think from a global perspective, and perhaps Ed might want to comment on this, there's perhaps an even greater opportunity in the M&A area as we seek to develop and expand our global capabilities. And I know that's on your agenda, Ed.
Absolutely. We don't have any immediate plans to merge with any other firms in the United States or elsewhere, but certainly on the global agenda, it's more than opportunistic. We're going to look for different mergers that can take place throughout the world to increase the presence of Grant Thornton.
In the past, just backtracking a little bit, it had been commonplace for the heads of the international firms to be from international. Now it seems to be a trend where either the managing partner or the CEO of the domestic firm goes to head the international part. We saw with Deloitte and a few others. Do you see this as a trend?
Well, it is a trend just because it seems to be happening. It happened at PwC, it happened at Deloitte, and it's happened at Grant Thornton. It's not everywhere, it's not every firm, and I don't know that it's a long-term trend. I think it just goes to the fact that for most of the international networks, the U.S. firm is the biggest firm in the network, so there's the biggest pool of talent. And I don't think there's really anything more to it than that. I think, though, I'm personally relocating to London, and I think it's important that whoever the head of the global organization is has a global perspective. So, you obviously have a little bit of a perspective from where you came from, and I moved around the United States quite a bit, but definitely American. But once you move into that global role, you really do have to completely change your perspective, regardless of whether you're from the United States or Europe or Asia, and have become a citizen of the world and have the perspective of what's best for the accounting profession throughout the world, what's best for Grant Thornton throughout the world, what's best for our clients throughout the world, and for investors throughout the world. So you do have to completely change your mindset, and I'm struggling, but I'm doing it.
And you've also learned the difference between the tube and the lift, right?
The tube and there's a whole new language. Yes.
Stephen, your thoughts on that?
I think it may partly be an indication of the growing expansion of the U.S. client base internationally, and the fact that international global service capability has become increasingly important to all of the U.S. firms. And it may be that there's a linkage there. But certainly I think whomever takes that role, as Ed said, you want an individual that really has the ability to reach out and understand and listen to all of the different jurisdictions around the world with an open mind and not just from the country that they happen to emanate from, whether that's the United States or anywhere else.
Okay. Ed, during your tenure at Grant Thornton, you've won a lot of workplace awards. I think one was the most ethical place to work and everything. How do you see, how is that going to continue under Stephen's aegis domestically, and do you plan to kind of port those philosophies over to your new position overseas?
Yes, Bill. I think, first of all, we're very proud of the awards we've won and what we've been able to achieve. And I think at Grant Thornton, we have focused on the experience of our people and how important the culture is, and the adherence to guiding principles. And they're really global values, global principles that we're focused on. And so I think we need to continue, and we will continue, that commitment to those values and principles, the commitment to a culture that provides the right experience for our people, that we think is distinctive, that we think it gives us a competitive advantage. I think all the firms like to think that, but certainly we believe that at Grant Thornton. And we're committed to continuing that and enhancing it and improving it, because it's not a static environment. You've got to constantly improve the experience you provide for your people. You can't just simply take that and move it overseas because the cultures are different in every country. But what you can do is talk about a global culture for the organization and the member firms throughout the world. What you can do is talk about a global adherence to a guiding set of principles or values. And we've put a lot of emphasis on that on a global basis. A big part of my future will be trying to establish the right culture, attract the right people within to our organizations, but also for those who are with Grant Thornton to make sure that we're all committed to a high set of standards and to quality and to having a culture that does win awards. Or the awards aren't as important as really the underlying culture and the experience that people have.